Hey there, Internet. I'm the 450 Raven. I'm a nationally registered emergency medical technician, and it's been a long time since I've done a YouTube video or anything. I've been doing a lot of TikTok related content and a lot of short form content, but that stuff has been kind of taken off a little bit, and I wanted to do like a long form video, just kind of talking about um, some of the pros and cons of getting into emergency medical services or EMS, first response, and stuff like that in general. Um, so, a few of the things that I kind of want to touch on, I'm gonna go over like the cons of the job first, and then the pros and stuff after that as well. And then I'll probably do a follow-up video about this where I kind of condense a lot of the things that I had done on the shorts to give you some advice on how you can keep you and your friends safe out on the road. But if you don't know, I do a lot of motorcycle content. I own a CF Moto 450 NK and I own a CLX 700 as well. I've been riding since August of last year, around the same time that I got my EMS certification, and these things are kind of just going hand in hand in my life, and it's been a really good talking point. So, like I said, I've been in EMS. Well, I've been in EMT now for a few months, and I've been in EMS for a few years. I used to be a 911 dispatcher, and then I've been a first responder as well, and now an EMT. So um, I have a pretty decent amount of experience in this stuff, and it feels like a good thing to kind of go with. So as far as like cons and stuff to um, the job itself is very, very emotionally challenging. It can be physically demanding at times, and it can be, pretty hard on your body sometimes. But above all, the job is just extremely emotionally challenging. Um, you'll experience a lot of sad moments, unfortunately, and you'll experience a lot of traumatic things along the way, and that can be really difficult to manage. And it can also make it very difficult to communicate and relate to family members and things like that. But there's a lot of steps that you personally can take to make that an easier experience, and you can get access to a lot of resources to help in the event that you experience something that's just very hard to manage. The unfortunate reality is that in our line of work, we are there for people during their worst moments in life. Um, none of our patients are typically having a good day, unfortunately. None of our clientele is at their best typically in those moments that we're with them. Um, and you'll also experience a lot of moments where you may be there for somebody while they're taking their last breath or while they're with a family member who's passed away or things along those lines. And that can be very, very difficult to deal with. And unfortunately, it takes a lot of emotional willpower, intelligence, and mindfulness to kind of get through that. And that kind of gives you a lot of mental baggage to carry around, unfortunately. And it's a thing that a lot of us don't like to talk about. A lot of us don't like to admit that we have a job that puts you in the face of things that humans aren't really built to see on a daily basis. And talking about that is extremely important in all reality. Unfortunately, a lot of people brush that to the wayside. But being around death and being around people in their worst moments and responding to those situations where catastrophe is struck and things like that is very difficult to cope with sometimes. And I think that one of the things that'll kind of make or break you if you're interested in this kind of a career is that first experience, really, of going through and having to be involved in the event that somebody has passed away or something like that. Just as a personal kind of relation to all of that stuff, one of the hardest things that I've ever had to experience is related to suicide. Um, Mental health issues were something that I struggled with a lot growing up and things along those lines. And The very first call that I went on where the victim was deceased was a suicide related call, unfortunately. And that was a very, very hard moment for me to get through because it was something that I personally related to so much. But once you get through that first initial situation and stuff, you learn ways to communicate about it. You learn ways to, I guess, separate yourself from the situation, and you come to understandings about things that like you could and could not have done differently, and you learn how to be human in that situation in a way. Um, Rather than just kind of like shutting down and stuff like that. And I think the people that get into this line of work and decide that it's not for them are the people that give it a shot, and then get into an experience that's just too much for them to handle, and they back out and run. And that's not a problem. At the end of the day, patients don't really need somebody who's not mentally capable of coping with this kind of a situation when they occur. So that is the biggest con, is just the mental health related problems that are associated with it. The other kind of cons that go into it is that EMS services have a lot of leniency when it comes to specific laws involving labor practices and things like that, just because they are considered an emergency service. And so the hours that you work can be incredibly long. You can work, 16-hour shifts pretty commonly. Um, there are a lot of services that operate on 24 or 48-hour schedules as well, which is a pro and a con. Unfortunately, you're on call pretty much the entire time you're there, even if you have like a busy day or busy night or something like that. And that can be extremely physically draining because of the lack of sleep and the lack of opportunity to take care of your needs and stuff like that. But on the flip side of that, that can be a huge pro as well. Being able to work, 2 days a week and have 5 days off is something that a lot of people dream of, and being able to earn money while you're sleeping and stuff like that is also very nice as well. But that is a sacrifice that you're making at the end of the day. You're being away from your family for that time and things along those lines. So that is something to consider as well. As far as physical demands, the biggest issue is, lack of sleep typically. Lifting patients and things like that can be pretty taxing on your back, your muscles and things like that. But just eating healthy and staying in shape and you know, actively pursuing activity and during your downtime and stuff like that is the best way to kind of combat that, making sure you're practicing, healthy and safe lifting practices and things along those lines. And as tempting as it is, not stopping at McDonald's in a pinch when you're hungry at the end of the day, unfortunately, making healthier food choices and stuff is going to be what gets you through the day. So as far as other cons of it, I mean, you're on the road a lot, unfortunately, if you're doing like interfacility transports and things like that. EMS isn't necessarily all that you expect it to be. A lot of EMS jobs are transport related. It feels like a glorified Uber or taxi service at times, unfortunately, where you're transporting patients back and forth to certain facilities or transporting patients back and forth to their homes. If you get lucky and get onto a 911 service as well, 911 services are sometimes, you'll respond to a house for something that's, you know, basically pointless, and the person will insist on getting transported to the hospital anyway, and you have a responsibility to make sure that they do. So you do have some moments that can be frustrating and things along those lines, but at the end of the day, I mean, if somebody wants to go to the hospital, that's what you're there for. It's really not that big of a deal at the end of the day. Um, as far as pros go, though, because that's pretty much the majority of the cons, other than actually one last con is that EMS services do tend to get paid a lot less than they should. And that's a very sad reality. We're the people that are expected to show up and save people in the event of an emergency, and we're there to be there for people in dire situations. And a lot of us make not much more than people working, entry level positions and stuff in like factories or assembly lines or things along those lines. and the pay can be extremely hard to work around. A lot of EMS workers have side gigs and things along those lines. So that's one thing to be mindful of as well. The pay does, of course, increase the higher up the ladder you go. If you're an EMT and then an advanced EMT and then a paramedic, the pay scale continues to go up. So there is kind of always a path forward and a path up as well as far as the pay scale goes. So it's just about how much time and effort and education you're willing to seek. So um, beyond that, though, the pros that I wanted to go over, there is no job that is truly as rewarding, in my opinion, mentally uh, that you can get into. Um, Nothing will ever compare to that feeling when you know that you've done something that impacts somebody's life. Um, and that feeling that you get when you can be there to help save somebody in a situation that's pretty dire. Those are moments that you just cannot, no amount of money will ever hold a candle to that feeling of being there to help somebody. The freedoms as well that the position offers you can also be kind of surreal at times. Um, you're the one that makes decisions in situations like that, and it takes a very calm and clear mind in the face of an emergency to be able to step in and have command of that situation and everything. But uh, the amount of freedoms you have to make decisions and improvise and things like that during these situations is pretty incredible at times. And you know, at the end of the day, as long as a patient is being well cared for and as long as a patient is, you know, being treated the way they need to be treated, you're not really going to get questioned a whole lot on stuff. And one thing that you will get questioned on, of course, is, what could you have done differently? What could you have done better? And things along those lines. And it's also a very good position to be in where self-reflection is very much a growing focused kind of situation. There's also a bit of a brotherhood or familyhood to the position as well because there's this shared um, kind of experience that EMS workers have of um, going through all these kind of traumatic experiences and stuff together. EMS workers are some of the easiest people to talk to. Most of us are just kind of an open book because at the end of the day, we all have had these experiences that have shaped us and opened us up to a world of other, kind of situations that go on. You can have healthy conflict in this work environment, which is really odd. You can have people of all different walks of life that all have different values and stuff like that. Be willing to see your point of view, and even if they don't agree with those points of view, it's not a combative or opinionated situation typically. A lot of those people will say, I can understand why you feel that way, or, you know, they can have an open and broad discussion about topics that are kind of beyond, what society would typically have. And there's a lot of situations you'll run into where you have people communicating about, all sorts of crazy scenarios and things like that, or, personal experiences and things along those lines openly. And that is something that you don't really get at a lot of jobs. A lot of jobs is kind of just, how's the weather? And things like that. And when you walk into like an EMS station, a lot of the conversations go a lot deeper than that. And it can be a really interesting place to hear some stories and experiences and understand other people's points of view. I'm personally a bit of a people watcher as well, so that's kind of something that always interests me is just kind of hearing other people's perspectives and stories and interests and things along those lines as well. And there is no shortage of opportunity for conversation. You'll be conversing with patients constantly. You'll be conversing with your teammates and coworkers and things like that constantly as well. The other pros about the job, I mean, it. has kind of a funny acronym in the EMS field. It's just earn money sleeping instead of emergency medical services. Earn money sleeping, of course, is a big pro with that. If you get a position that does have, 24 or 40-hour shifts and stuff like that. So that is a huge pro to the situation. Usually having accommodations, bedroom, and showers, things like that. The unity of the emergency services field also is something that's pretty spectacular to experience. We all give each other shit all the time about, police go in and just Narcan somebody and don't know what the fuck they're doing, or you have the firefighters that are just there to lift people up and go pick up Meemaw because the EMS workers don't want to do that. And then you have the fire department and police picking on EMTs and just saying, "Oh, you're just a glorified Uber for dialysis patients," and stuff like that. But there's the unity when you all get on a scene and you're all cooperating and working together for these kind of events, that everyone just kind of knows their place. Everyone kind of knows what lane they need to be in, and everybody functions as a good unit when they all have to come together. And that's a really cool experience to be there for. Um, Outside of that, um, even though these other people that are in other fields kind of walk a different life than you got police officers or firefighters or paramedics and things along those lines. Everyone cares for each other in those situations, regardless of opinions and situations that occurred. So that brotherhood, that camaraderie kind of thing is very unique, and it's something that you find just in very specific situations. You have emergency services, you have military, things like that. There's um, a lot of those more niche specific kind of professions and things along those lines, or hobbies like that. You've got gun owners that have that kind of camaraderie. You've got motorcyclists that have that kind of camaraderie to them because you all have this shared specific experience. Um, that's one thing that really draws a lot of people in once you kind of get started. Once you've found your footing with other people, it's a reason that you won't ever want to leave. Um, the biggest thing at the end of the day, as far as a pro goes, that I can say is just um, having that feeling at the end of the day that you did something that matters is just an incredible feeling that you'll never let go of once you've experienced it. Knowing that you've gone in there and potentially made an impact in somebody's day or an impact in somebody's life is just something that draws you back in and keeps you going to work every day. And even if the pay isn't worth it, that feeling is. And as a personal experience for myself, I mean, I've worked in a lot of fields. I've done, mechanic related things. I've done technology related things, customer service related things along those lines. And the only two things that have ever really mattered a whole lot to me is just being creative full time, or doing something that makes a difference full time. And at the end of the day, I couldn't be happier to have a job like this. Um, it's something that you can't really let go of once you get started. The other major pro to it is that it's pretty inexpensive to get started in. EMS work is kind of more along the lines of a trade and things like that. The higher you go, the more expensive it gets, of course. But to get a basic EMT certification, it's usually around the $2,000 or less range. And there's usually a lot of opportunities available to go and become an EMS worker or an EMT along like your local area and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that kind of a line of work, you can typically just hop on Google and search for EMT classes near me, or, fire classes near me, or things along those lines. I don't know a whole lot about police academy and things like that, but um, if you want to become like a 911 dispatcher, typically that's free, I'm pretty sure. It was when I did it. I just applied for a position to be a 911 dispatcher, and then I went through a few months of a training course and hopped into it. So there was no tuition or anything like that. But when I took my EMT certification, the price was, I think, $1,200 all in. So 1,200, really not expensive at all. And you go through a few months of courses, and then you go through skills, and you get that hands-on experience and stuff like that. Do your ride-alongs and everything, and go and take your national registry test, and hop out there on the road after that. And a lot of EMS facilities will pay for that if you agree to sign a contract to work for them for a year or so. So that is something to consider. It's very simple to get into. It doesn't require a whole lot of financial weight to throw out there at once. If you do go beyond that, I mean, you can get like a paramedic license, and that tends to be a lot more expensive. It's like a year of schooling and usually like a $10,000 tuition kind of situation. And then, of course, you have to get like student loans or something like that to accommodate that. But um, paramedic, I think, is kind of the natural path of progression for a lot of us. You want to kind of start small in that EMT field, and if you're happy with it, I mean, you're going to stick with it and not really bother going forward. But a lot of us, if you're once you're into it, I mean, you want to go beyond it so that you can make those more critical decisions and be there for more critical care related stuff. So um, these are just some things that I kind of wanted to go over. I don't have a whole lot of things. I'm going to do another video here and kind of summarize a lot of the TikTok related stuff that I did recently that's going to help to keep you and your friends safe out on the road on motorcycles. It's all motorcycle oriented from an EMT perspective. So um, if you like that video and you want to see, or if you liked this video, sorry, and you want to see videos along those lines that are more motorcycle oriented and things like that, give me a follow, give me a subscription, and I hope you stick around. I hope you all have a great rest of your day.